Okay, good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started tonight. Thank you for joining us this evening for one of our 4 family Q&A forums we are hosting to assist parents in making an informed decision for their children's return to school options this fall. My name is Elena Trott, and I serve as the Director of Strategic Initiatives for Chesapeake Public Schools, and I'm also a proud member of this Responsive Return to School Steering Committee, who has worked tirelessly to provide innovative solutions to this unprecedented situation in public education. We know our families are divided on whether we should reopen our campuses in just a few short weeks, and we also know everyone's situation is different and parents know their children best. So after reviewing preliminary survey data and diving deeper into dialogue through focus groups with parents, students, and employees, we felt the best decision was to give our families a choice in how their children will learn for the fall. I think it's important to note that not all local school districts are offering choice, but Chesapeake is committed to doing what we can to meet the diverse needs of our families to the best of our ability. And while we recognize that we won't be able to please everyone, we are committed to ensuring high quality instruction for all. We outlined the Center for Disease Control regulations, the Virginia Department of Education's recommendations, and the process we took to arrive at these 2 options during the school board meeting on July 6th. So if you would like to view that presentation, it is available from our website. The recording is available. But tonight we're going to focus on the details of the 2 options and answer some of your most frequently asked questions that were pre-submitted when you registered. We have received thousands of questions from parents and are going to do our best to answer as many as we can tonight. I encourage you to visit the FAQ section of our Responsive Return to School website, as we will be continuously updating that page as answers become available. Any Q&As submitted during tonight's forum will be reviewed and included on that page as well. Joining us for our panel tonight, we have Dr. Jacqueline Miller, Chief Student Support Officer and Co-Chair of the Responsive Return to School Task Force, Ms. Nancy Sweat, Director of Instructional Technologies, Services and Resources, and fellow Co-Chair of the Responsive Return to School Task Force, Dr. LaToya Walker Harrison, Chief Academic Officer and Steering Committee Member, Dr. Sherry Wilson, Director of Human Resources and Steering Committee Member, Dr. Angie Smith, Director of Communications and a Steering Committee Member, Dr. David Benson and Mr. Herbert Bird, Director and Assistant Director of Transportation, Mrs. Trudy Gelderks, Supervisor of Health Services, Mr. Kevin Cole, Supervisor of Student Activities, and Dr. Craig Pinello, Director of Exceptional Learning, who will be hosting a special segment at the end of this forum for parents of exceptional learners. We're also very grateful to have Dr. Nancy Welch, Director of the Chesapeake Health Department, with us. Dr. Welch has been a tremendous asset to helping our team make informed decisions regarding the health and safety of our children and community, and we are thankful for her partnership. I also want to acknowledge all the other Chesapeake Public School employees we have in the session with us this evening, many of whom are wearing the hats of both a professional and a parent tonight. And while we did receive some employee-related questions through the registration form, tonight we are only going to focus on the information our families need to make their choice for their children. More information about our employee Q&A forums will be coming soon. Now I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Miller and Dr. Harrison, who will provide a brief presentation on our Returning to Learning family choice options.
Thank you, Ms. Trott. Good evening. Preparing for a new school year under normal circumstances is a tough job and involves a lot of hard work and planning. This year, as we continue to navigate uncertain conditions, that task has become much more difficult. And I will share with you that some of you may have heard this presentation before, but I do need to go over it for those of you who may not, and it will be a short version. To begin, I think it's important to share the goals of our return to school plan. There is nothing more we want than to safely bring our students back to school. Nothing more we want to do than to do that. To do that, we need to outline those safety measures and mitigation strategies for safe on-campus learning. And Elena, if you will,
We're
we're having technical difficulties.
Give me just a second.
Also, if you and Dr. Smith will read your inbox, your chat box.
There we go.
All right, let's see if we can do this again. And I'm on the second slide. Okay. To begin, I think it's important to share our goals for the return to school plan. There is nothing more than we want to do than bring our students back to school. But we want to bring them back safely along with our teachers safely. To do that, we need to outline the safety measures and mitigation strategies for safe on-campus learning. Finally, we understand that the current conditions do not allow for a one-size-fits-all approach. So our final goal is to provide families with 2 options to meet the educational needs of their children. Which brings us to our returning to learning instructional plan, family choice. As we stated earlier, we want nothing more to bring our students and our staff back to school. And it is our hope that the COVID-19 situation will improve, allowing us to return to normal operations. But as we all have seen, there is still a great deal of unknown about the situation, and we have to prepare to respond to these changing conditions. And we are calling it pivoting. We have to be able to pivot in a moment's notice. So we're going to provide our families with a choice. Option 1 is called the on-campus continuum. We will provide as much on-campus time for your child as is permitted by the health guidelines in place at any given time. So it could be that we start blended and then we pivot to traditional 5 days, or it could be we start traditional and pivot to the blended. Option 2 is Chesapeake Online, a 100% online learning model that will allow families to keep their children at home if that is the best option for their circumstances. And I'd like to spend the next couple of minutes reviewing additional information about these options. The on-campus continuum includes 3 possible scenarios to accommodate the changing restrictions of the governor's phased reopening plan. This model represents a continuum because, as we witnessed this spring, school districts must be able to shift their mode of instruction at a moment's notice, as an outbreak could occur that would impact our daily operations, or Virginia's reopening phase could be adjusted at any given time. The goal of the on-campus continuum is to safely serve the maximum number of students on campus in any given phase. That means students on camp may be on campus for 5 days a week with health mitigation strategies in place, what we're referring to as the traditional model. Or we may implement a blended model that would provide on-campus learning for 2 days per week and at-home learning for the remaining 3 days, therefore limiting the total number of students on campus at one time. This allows for more physical distancing. Or it may be necessary to move students, all students, to online learning temporarily if the situation warranted this measure, such as the possibility of an outbreak that could occur on a particular school campus or a dramatic shift in the progression of the governor's reopening measures. Regardless of the mode, in effect, all will provide instruction of new content. Let me say that again. All modes will provide instruction on new content. It will review the missed content, and work will be graded using the district's grading scale. Let's take a closer look at each one of these models in option 1. With the traditional model, we welcome all students back to campus, resuming normal hours, but it'll look different as we implement additional safety measures. It's important to mention that these measures may change as the situation evolves, and we will plan to implement these measures as long as it is necessary to help protect our students and our staff. As CDC guidance suggests, cloth face coverings will be required for employees and middle and high school age students when physical distancing of at least 6 feet cannot be maintained, and will be strongly recommended for elementary age students. Classrooms will be arranged and hallway traffic patterns will be adjusted to allow physical distancing to the greatest extent possible. Health screenings, including temperature checks, will be administered to all who enter our schools and support buildings. We will limit the interaction of student groups as much as possible by having teachers travel from classroom to classroom, limiting the number of classes on the playground at any given time, and discouraging the use of shared student supplies. Our custodial staff will continue to deep clean all frequently touched areas, and all staff will assist in sanitizing materials such as the guided reading books or tools needed for career and technical education. Additional time will be built into our schedule for hand washing, and we will teach and reinforce good hygiene practices daily. We've already ordered hand sanitizing stations to be strategically placed throughout each school building. Additional, our cafeteria staff will continue to serve breakfast and lunch in our schools, but students will eat in classrooms until conditions support large group gatherings and communal spaces. Transportation will be provided to and from school, but face coverings will be required for the use of this service. Due to health guidelines, a limited number of students will be permitted to ride the bus at the same time. So we are encouraging families to provide their own transportation or have students walk or bike if it's safe to do so. Now, I want to emphasize that the safety measures may be relaxed as the governor's reopening phase of Virginia continues. That is our hope, but again, we must be prepared for anything. Which brings me to the blended model. The blended model may be necessary if conditions require the implementation of additional group restrictions. For example, if our buses are not able to transport all students requiring transportation services to school under the physical distancing restrictions recommended by our health department, then we must limit the number of students we can bring in at one time. With this model, grade levels are divided into 2 groups. There's going to be a group A and there'll be a group B, with each group attending for on-campus learning 2 days per week and working independently at home, either with online activities or paper pencil activities for 3 days. This means that our instructional staff will be working with students face-to-face 4 days per week, and the 5th day will be used for online learning support. Teachers will use this day to support students with their independent activities by providing online office hours and conducting small group online intervention through online meetings to support students with special needs or those students that require extra assistance. This time will also be used to support our instructional staff by allowing them time to collaboratively plan and professional development to support high quality online instruction, which is so very important right now. It is important to note that every effort will be made to ensure that siblings or students living in the same home are grouped together, and some students considered high need may attend additional days. The final model may be necessary as we work as a short-term solution in an event of a closure or a localized outbreak. In that case, students would participate in online instruction daily until conditions allow for a safe return. This would include scheduled teacher-led learning where attendance is expected, and at-home learning, which may be in the form of pre-recorded instruction models or paper pencil activities. All instruction would be provided by the teacher of record in this case, and support would be provided through online hours, emails, phone calls, and online intervention sessions on an as-needed basis. Also, if this model is necessary, meals will be provided at distribution sites while students are learning from home. I know what you're wondering. Which of the three models that we described under option 1 will be in place on the first day of school? The decision depends on many factors, including enrollment and transportation needs, and will be made in consultation with the Chesapeake Health Department. We will announce which model that the task force recommends to the school board on July 27th, allowing approximately 6 weeks for families to prepare. Let me say this one more time. Where we start on the continuum offered in option 1 will be recommended in consultation with the Chesapeake Health Department and will be announced on July 27th at the next board meeting. It is ultimately up to the school board to vote for what model they would like to see in the fall. Now let's get back to the instructional plan and take a look at option 2, Chesapeake Online. And I'm going to turn this over to Nancy Sweat, my co-chair, who will go over Chesapeake Online option 2.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Chesapeake Online is a 100% online program for students in grades K through 12, where students participate in online instruction from home 5 days a week. This program is not self-paced and will include scheduled, teacher-led learning where attendance is expected each day, and at-home learning, which may be in the form of pre-recorded instructional modules and other online independent activities. While all core courses will be available for students in K-8, as well as all courses required for graduation at the high school level, some elective courses may not be available due to the nature of the course content. For example, some of our career and technical education courses require hands-on instruction and assessment. Teachers from Chesapeake Public Schools will be selected to teach online for the 2020-21 school year using Schoology as the learning management system. In instances, depending on course selection, teachers from additional providers may be required, but all courses will be taught by licensed teachers and using support online. They will have online office hours, they will answer emails, maybe conduct through phone calls, and have online intervention sessions as needed. As I mentioned, this is not a self-paced option, and there will be teacher-led sessions where attendance is expected. To give families an idea of the time commitment involved in this option, let's take a look at each level. At the elementary level, students will be expected to attend approximately 1 to 2 hours per day for students in kindergarten through 2nd grade, 1.5 to 2.5 hours a day for students in grades 3 through 5. Students in middle and high will be expected to participate in 30 to 45-minute sessions daily for the courses in which they are enrolled. These times are approximate ranges, and schedules may vary some by course and grade level. Additional instructional time will be provided as needed for students receiving specialized supports, such as those in special ed, English learners, gifted education, and students requiring targeted intervention. Students may also complete independent work that may be pre-recorded learning modules or online activities. All work will be graded according to our district's grading policies. This option is designed to let students learn safely from home while still allowing them to maintain their connection to their zone school. This means that families will receive all routine communication from their child's home school and participate as members of the PTA. In addition, students will be eligible to participate in sports and extracurricular activities with their home school once these activities resume. Now, I want to be clear. Students enrolled in Chesapeake Online will be working with a virtual teacher who may not be a member of your child's homeschool staff. Your classmates will be students from across the district whose families felt online learning was the best option for their circumstances. Families can expect the online teacher to be available online for support, as well as parent conferences as needed. With this option, we will continue to provide meal service for students at several meal distribution sites throughout the city. And while this option is intended to be an off-campus solution, on rare occasions, certain standardized assessments may be only available on campus. This does not include the routine course level assessments created by the teacher. Finally, it is important to note that option 2 requires a commitment of at least 1 semester. Students who choose to enroll commit to receiving instruction through Chesapeake Online through February 2nd, 2021 at a minimum. It is our hope that Chesapeake Online will become a permanent option for future school years as well. Now I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Harrison, just for this side-by-side.
Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate that. So as Nancy mentioned, we are now going to take a look at the side-by-side comparison of the 2 options. And during the next portion of our presentation, we're going to be answering a lot of the questions that have been pre-submitted online. So once again, as a reminder, option 1 is the on-campus continuum, where we will provide as much on-campus time for your child as is permitted by health guidelines in place at a given time. This ranges from the traditional model to blended to students being online temporarily if conditions require this for student safety. Now, as we take a look at these 2 options, I want to begin by comparing the curriculum in the 2 options provided here. As you can see, in both option 1 and option 2, instruction will be provided by licensed teachers, and we will be using the Chesapeake Public Schools revised curriculum and pacing guides. We will also incorporate prerequisite course content missed last year due to the extended school closure in both options. And in option 2, the online Chesapeake Online option, Schoology will be used as our learning management system.
Okay, thank you.
Also, and I'm going to turn it back over to Nancy to provide more information on our Chesapeake Online option.
Yes, and I believe at this time I'll be going through some of the pre-submitted questions. One such question states, will we limit available electives in Chesapeake Online? Electives will be determined first based on student enrollment in Chesapeake Online, as well as the limits of online instruction for specific software possibly not available on a Chromebook, are those courses which heavily rely on on-campus and lab exercises and activities. Can students take their hands-on electives, such as music, Chesapeake Career Center, Governor's School for the Arts, and ROTC, on campus and the remaining courses online? At this time, option 2 is only 100% online and intended for those who want to remain at home for learning. There may be some exceptions for seniors and those students enrolled in completer programs through career and technical education. Will online classes be required in the evening? Scheduled real-time classes will only be offered during the typical school hours. Online teachers may offer opportunities for additional assistance after hours. Are students in academy programs able to take those courses through Chesapeake Online? Unfortunately, due to the heavy reliance of hands-on instruction and specialized software, students in academy programs will need to select option 1 to remain enrolled in their academy classes. If academy students choose Chesapeake Online for the first semester, will they lose their spot in the academy? No. They can continue to take academy courses when they return to on-campus instruction. Can students take TCC dual enrollment courses through Chesapeake Online? Currently, we are in communication with TCC regarding their fall courses and will update families as soon as those decisions are made. Dr. Harrison?
Thank you. Again, we will continue with the comparison of the 2 options. So here, as we take a look at scheduling and instructional time for option 1, we see that our regular school hours will go into effect for the 2021 school year. And students in option 1 will be marked absent if not in school on their assigned days. Independent at-home assignments may be paper, pencil, or online assignments in option 1. And also during the temporarily online model, we will also include real-time learning through scheduled video conferencing sessions. In option 2, our Chesapeake Online 100% virtual option, weekly assignments will be expected to ensure that students are staying on pace with the instruction in the course. Weekly attendance in virtual class sessions will be required. And the time commitment for Chesapeake Online includes about 1 to 2 hours per day for elementary students in grades K through 2 of virtual synchronous learning. So that's learning provided in real time, instruction provided in real time by the teacher, and approximately 1.5 to 2.5 hours a day for students in grades 3 through 5 of real time instruction provided by the teacher. And then at the middle and high school level, parents can expect about 30 to 45 minutes a day per course that students are enrolled in of real-time instruction. And just to respond to some of the questions that we've received related to scheduling and instructional time, one question asked, some teachers had Google Meets and others didn't in the spring. Will all teachers be required to have video conferencing sessions if option 1 is temporarily online? And yes, we will have a set schedule and expectations for all teachers to provide real-time learning sessions. How will the attendance policy change for option 1? Students will still be required to come to school on the days they are assigned. As in the past, students who need to apply for extenuating circumstances will be able to do so with medical documentation. We will be suspending the exam exemption for attendance this year. Will the virtual class sessions be recorded for those who are unable to attend during the regularly scheduled time and/or who want to reference them later? Due to privacy concerns, teachers will not be asked to record live instructional sessions. While live class sessions may not be recorded, online teachers may opt to record instructional videos and post them to Schoology for student access. Students who miss a session will also have an opportunity to request individual assistance to get makeup work from their teacher and/or meet with their teacher during their weekly office hours. Here we will take a look at a comparison of the instructional support provided in the two models. In the on-campus continuum, depending on the type of instructional delivery model being used at the time, students may receive additional assistance through face-to-face intervention sessions, weekly virtual office hours, electronic and/or phone communication with the teacher. And in the virtual option, weekly virtual office hours will be provided by all of our Chesapeake online teachers, as well as real-time synchronous intervention sessions with individual students or in small groups. And again, communication, electronic communication or phone communication between the teacher and the student or parents will be provided. And now as we take a look at the assessments and grading for option 1 and option 2, our grading scale, our normal grading scale will apply in both option 1 and option 2. And the discontinued pass, we've discontinued the pass incomplete option in both the online and the on-campus continuum option. Also, weighted credit will be honored for eligible courses in both options. And students in option 1 will complete assessments on campus or online, depending on the instructional delivery model being used at the time. And then in option 2, routine assessments will be delivered primarily online, but there may be occasions where students may be required to report to campus for standardized testing as mandated by our division and also by the Virginia Department of Education. I also want to remind families that they will have until the end of the first semester, February 2nd, 2021, to change any grading choices from the 2019-20 school year. Parents are encouraged to contact the guidance department at their child's school if they need to change from letter grade to pass or vice versa. Now, as we take a look at technology options, technology under both options, under option 1, the device loan program for students in need of technology for blended and online instruction will continue, and then priority will be given to our secondary students. Wi-Fi, our Wi-Fi plan is in development. We are working on a plan to increase or to provide Wi-Fi access to those families who need it, and more information will be provided to families as we continue to develop those options. We will ask that parents submit their need for technology through ParentView when selecting their option. And again, that is actually consistent across both options, with the exception that under Chesapeake Online, the device loan program will be available to all students in our Chesapeake Online program. Those who are in need of technology for online instruction will be provided that. As we compare the school affiliation and extracurricular activities under both options, in option 1, All students will remain enrolled in their assigned school regardless of the instructional delivery model being used at the time. Extracurricular activities may be offered with additional health and safety precautions in place, and families may be required to provide transportation to and from school for activities and events. In option 2, Chesapeake Online, students will also remain enrolled in their assigned school while concurrently enrolled in Chesapeake Online. Students will still receive routine communications from their child's school, and they may participate in extracurricular activities offered, again, with the health and safety precautions in place, and families will be required to provide transportation to and from school for activities and events. One question we received related to school affiliation and communication is, will my child be able to stream the morning news show to get announcements if they are in Chesapeake Online? Not all schools have televised morning announcements, but families will be able to access daily announcements from the school's website and social media accounts. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Miller, who will provide more information regarding sports and activities. Dr. Miller.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Harrison. I believe Mr. Cole, the supervisor of student activities and facility use, is on. And if I miss anything, Kevin, Mr. Cole, please make sure that you chime in. No matter which option you select, students will be eligible to participate in sports and extracurricular activities with their home school. To give you a brief update on the return to schools and sports and activity plan, Chesapeake Public Schools resumed selected sports and activities at the high school level only starting this week, actually yesterday, with certain restrictions. Unfortunately, games and scrimmages are not permitted, including summer league, and transportation is not provided for these activities. You can review our complete return to sports activity plan on our website, and we will continue to provide updates as conditions improve and we receive additional information from the Virginia High School League. Kevin, would that be accurate?
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
Okay. Transportation. As you can see, all drivers and passengers will be required to wear a mask while on the bus. According to our plan, students placed one in a seat without skipping a row with 6 feet distancing from side to side and 2.5 feet distancing from front to back. As I shared at the school board meeting last Monday, 71 passenger bus, we can get 24 individuals on a bus if we have them seated in every seat with the mask and them each diagonal, one at the window, one at the aisle. And as you can see, with a 64 passenger bus and a 12 passenger bus. Students living in the same household, we're going to sit together, and Dr. Benson is up here and Mr. Bird from transportation, so please chime in if there's something else that needs to be added. We're going to load from the rear to the front, and we're going to unload from the front to the rear. We're going to exercise 6 foot of physical distancing while waiting at this bus for arrival, and parents, we ask that you share with your children to do so. And distance required to walk to a bus stop and non-transportation zones may be expanded.
Dr. Miller, on the side to side, we will probably maintain everyone sitting against the window instead of staggering, because we can keep 6 foot of distance from side to side if we sit next to the window as opposed to staggering alternating seats.
Thank you, Dr. Benson.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
there were some questions under transportation, and I'll try to answer them now. How will you sanitize buses between routes? We will be using an electrostatic sprayer to clean the buses with surface guards and Holt in between the AM and PM runs, and drivers will use disinfectant spray to wipe down those high contact areas in between their routes. Now, what should I select for transportation needs in parent view if I can drive my child to school in the morning, but he or she will need a ride in the afternoon? Please select yes if you feel you will have partial transportation needs. What will you do if the bus fills up and there aren't enough seats to maintain distancing? Like we have been using the past year before we ran into COVID, our drivers will have to double back if they cannot get all students on the bus during the first run. Families can make a choice, their choice, beginning July 9th using Parent View. If families need assistance with their Parent View login, we ask that they contact their child's school principal for assistance. When making their choice, parents will encounter several questions. First, to select which option is best for each child, as what is best for one child may be different from another. The on-campus continuum, where the instructional model may vary according to circumstances, or Chesapeake Online that requires at least a semester-long commitment until February the 2nd of next year. Next, families will be asked to confirm if their child's if they have access to technology and the internet. We do not want access to technology to be a barrier that limits family choice. Let me say that again. We do not want access to technology to be a barrier that limits family choice. So in addition to our one-to-one initiative, we will offer a device loan program for students in need of technology, regardless of the option they choose. We are also in the process of developing a plan to provide access to Wi-Fi to families in need. Then, we will ask families to confirm their transportation needs. As mentioned before, due to the health guidelines, a limited number of students will be permitted to ride the bus at the same time. So we're encouraging our families to provide their own transportation or have students walk or bike if they are able to do so safely. Knowing who will require bus transportation is crucial to Dr. Benson and Mr. Bird, as it will help with our plan to return to school. Finally, families will be asked if they need any information about COVID resources. We know the pandemic has taken its toll on many families, and we want to help connect you all with resources in our community that could be of assistance. And we are working hard to support the social and emotional needs of both our students and our staff, because we understand how challenging this situation has been and continues to be. Once you have answered these questions, you will be directed to the online verification module. Parents, this is critical. You'll be directed to the online verification module and where you can update or confirm your child's emergency contact information. We need to have this information so we can contact you immediately at any given time. So here are some questions. Now, your change of choice. You can change your choice now up until July 21st, 2020. You can edit your responses. If you choose to make a change You can do that till the 21st. After the 21st, you can submit a request to change choice form to your assigned principals. Requests will be considered based on medical documentation, emergency circumstances, and available seat. Because we have to start with staffing. Who's going to teach online? Who's going to teach in the classroom? So these changes will have to be done with the principal. By December the 15th, notify your child's assigned school if you wish to change your choice for the second semester that begins on February the 3rd. So we have some questions, and we're going to get into some questions in regards to safety and so forth. And I just want to recognize Dr. Nancy Welch, who is on with us. So Dr. Welch, welcome, and we appreciate you being a part of this. And so she is going to be answering some questions along with Mrs. Trudy Gelderks, our supervisor of health services, as we go through. So I'm going to yield to them on those questions, but I'll answer a few on-campus questions now. When will a decision be made about where we will begin on the on-campus continuum? On July 27th, our school board will meet at 6 p.m. to hear our task force recommendation for where we will begin in option 1, as well as how many families selected each option and transportation needs. Ultimately, the school board has the final authority to decide where we will begin on the continuum. Dr. Welch and Trudy Gelderks, take it away on the next question. You have to unmute.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. We encountered a city-state glitch. Fortunately, I have a tech-savvy son, so we eventually got on. So thank you very much. The criteria for determining low, medium, and high COVID rates, it's really, there's some variation on that. What we will use will be in conjunction with what the state and CDC decides. And when we look at rates, I would tell you that there are certain criteria, say an outbreak means 2 that are epidemiologically related, or if, in other words, like a same classroom. So we will look at the numbers of cases that occur. How often will it be monitored? We actually get this information almost on a daily basis. And it doesn't make any difference where an individual receives a test. They could do it at CVS or a private physician or any of the testing sites. But all of that information based on residence comes back to us. So we get it on a daily basis.
Trudy, you have anything to add?
No, ma'am, I'm good on that. Thank you.
Okay. The next question is, if it becomes necessary to shift from one instructional model to another on the continuum, how much notice will be given to families? And unfortunately, we are unable to anticipate this. We will provide notice as quickly as possible and encourage families to stay informed on the trend data from the health department and to monitor the governor's updates. In the past, when we've had outbreaks such as norovirus or flu, as you know, we have immediately put something out to parents, and that will remain true in this case as well. Ms. Gelderks and Dr. Welch.
I'm not sure how to answer that from I'm not sure of the question.
Trudy?
So is there a possibility that different schools will be on a different stage of the continuum? We will be monitoring every school and the potential for outbreak based on what is happening at that individual school. We work in collaboration with the health department in terms of identifying potential outbreaks. So is there a possibility? Yes. Is it likely? I would not think so. But we would definitely be working in collaboration with the health department to identify any risk, any outbreak potential.
Thank you, Ms. Childers. Dr. Harrison?
Thank you. So the next question is, if we have to go temporarily online, will the online instruction come from my child's regular teachers? And how will it be different from what we experienced this past spring? So yes, your child's regular teachers will provide instruction via online learning if we have to shift to temporarily online. We will have a plan to increase our expectations for curriculum, direct instruction, and grading if we need to go shift to online learning. Additionally, we will have a new learning management system in place, and we've mentioned that previously, and that's going to be the Schoology learning management system, and that's going to allow us to streamline our communication and support for instruction. And finally, teachers are currently participating in professional development this summer in the Schoology platform, and this professional development will be ongoing throughout the school year so that our teachers will have all the resources and tools that they need to provide that instruction if we should have to shift to online learning. And I'll continue here with the on-campus continuum with some additional questions we've received. So if we have to go temporarily online, will there be a set schedule each week for real-time class sessions? And yes, all teachers will be expected to have real-time class sessions scheduled each week. These will coincide with the expectations that are already in place for our Chesapeake online program. The next question, if we move to blended learning, will parents have the option to choose which 2 days of the week they prefer their child to attend school? And will those days remain consistent each week? And parents will not be able to choose, however, the days will be consistent. Group A will attend school on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Group B will attend school on Wednesdays and Fridays. If we move to blended learning, will students in the same family be assigned to the same on-campus days? And certainly we're going to make every attempt to schedule students living in the same household on the same days. However, there may be some instances where this cannot be guaranteed. Are middle and high school students expected to stay in the same room all day? How will you maintain physical distancing during class changes? So middle and high school students will need to change classes, and we will provide additional structure for hallway traffic, and they will be required to wear face coverings during arrival, class changes, and dismissal. And finally, what will PE and/or recess look like? Will secondary students dress out for PE? PE and recess will occur outdoors as much as possible as weather permits. And physical activities will be in small groups. And at the secondary level, secondary students will not have access to locker rooms, and we are going to ask our secondary students to dress out accordingly. And now I'm going to turn it over to Nancy Sweat to provide some additional information regarding Chesapeake Online.
Thank you, Dr. Harrison. We have a few questions that were submitted. Will my child be in classes with students from other schools? The answer is yes. Will gifted and talented elementary and middle school students still be clustered to receive the GATE curriculum? Similar to a traditional school setting, we cannot guarantee all gifted students will be in the same online class. However, online teachers will use gifted strategies and provide extension and enrichment learning experiences for all of our identified learners. This may include additional small group sessions and independent learning activities. Will students receive hard copies of textbooks, math manipulatives, materials for science experiments, and other learning resources? Chesapeake Online will rely on online resources and learning experiences. Selected hard copies of textbooks will be available upon request from your student's assigned school. How will teachers be selected for Chesapeake Online? Teacher applications include a performance task, principal recommendation, previous professional evaluations. They will all be used to select our Chesapeake Online teachers. All teachers who are selected will receive specialized training in online teaching strategies. If a student transitions from Chesapeake Online to on-campus learning for the second semester, what can my student expect? Students will return to their assigned school and be placed in classes for the courses they are taking. Teachers will receive transfer grades to enter into their grade books. Since teachers in both options will be using the same curriculum and pacing guides, teachers will be able to transition their students without any loss of content. And I think we're taking it over to health and safety with Trudy.
When will you take student and staff temperatures? What is the temperature threshold, and how will you handle fever cases? Students and staff will all be monitored on a daily basis to include the symptoms and possible exposures. How that will work will depend on the school and their capabilities and their processes for the student arrival. What is the temperature threshold? Per the CDC, 100.4 or higher is their recommended temperature. So based on that is what Chesapeake Public Schools will be implementing. How will we handle fever cases? Students and staff will be monitored on a daily basis to include symptoms and possible exposures. Parents have the primary responsibility in caring for their students' health by screening the children for symptoms each morning, keeping kids home even if they have mild symptoms, having your kids wash their hands before leaving for school, keeping kids home if they've had recent contact with anybody within 14-day period of time with a confirmed COVID case, ensure they have a mask when they leave for school, and washing their clothes and masks on a daily basis. Students and staff are going to don a mask should they be suspicious if it was suspected that they had a fever. So we would make sure that they had a mask. They'd be assessed in the designated isolation room. And then parents and guardians are going to be notified for pickup. And pickup should be within 1 hour of parent contact. How are we going to handle cases of exposure and mandatory quarantines? Contact tracing is a core disease control strategy employed by the Chesapeake Health Department personnel for decades. It's a key strategy for preventing further spread of COVID. The Chesapeake Public Schools has determined that each school nurse will be conducting contact tracing for their building. So we're going to make sure that their contact tracing is part of the process in supporting the individuals with suspected or confirmed infection. The Chesapeake Health Department and Chesapeake Public School Health Advisors are going to work with a student or staff member to help them recall anyone with whom they may have had contact during the time frame while they may have been infectious.
Dr. Welch, did you want to, oh, Trudy, were you finished? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was going to say that contacts are only informed if they've been exposed. And contacts are encouraged to stay home and maintain physical, social distance from others at least 6 feet until 14 days after their last exposure. Dr. Welch, did you want to add to that one?
I do want to add that we have appealed to the state to be granted to be able to have an additional full-time epidemiologist, and I'm feeling very optimistic about it. And if indeed granted a full-time epidemiologist, that epidemiologist will be devoted totally to the school system. The approach will be the same as what we have done with any other communicable disease in the school system. It's an epidemiological investigation. There are classic criteria that you use. And as has been mentioned before by Dr. Miller, we are very willing and desirous of sending information home to parents. We cannot reveal specific names of individuals, but it is vitally important that if there are protective measures that need to be taken, that parents are advised of those protective measures. Contact tracing, I'll go ahead and continue on that. We have in our EPI department right now, we probably have close to 20 who are involved in doing some of the contact tracing. And as I said, we hope to have another full-time epidemiologist to assign completely to the school system. And we're accustomed to contact tracing. We've been doing it for years. It basically is to find if this individual has been exposed, if they've exposed other people, so that we can appropriately advise if the individual needs to be isolated or quarantined, or if there are other individuals in the classroom or teachers or parents who have been involved.
So will CPS institute mandatory COVID testing for students and/or staff? Revisions were made on July 2nd to reflect the Virginia Department of Health stance on testing, and noted that schools will not be expected to conduct testing, but will refer individuals with symptoms of COVID to a healthcare provider or testing site. So in collaboration with the Chesapeake Health Department, should widespread testing be required, it will be under the direction of the Chesapeake Health Department.
And I would say, follow up on that from the get-go. We're not going in recommending it. A test is one point in time. So there are certainly times when we want to do testing on folks, but in the case of an individual who is ill or has symptoms, we would investigate it epidemiologically rather than test-wise.
Thank you, Dr. Welch. Here's another question. How many students will be in a classroom, and what is the average physical distancing between desks? That's a very good question. On average, our classes usually hold about 30 students or less. And if we do 6 feet of physical distancing, the average number of students, if we use the 6-foot distancing guidelines, the average number of students in one classroom would be 15. The governor came out with additional phase information and shared that we could do 3 feet of distancing. However, if we do the 3 feet of distancing, students will be required to utilize a mask. Back to Trudy and Dr. Welch, or Ms. Gelderks, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Does Chesapeake Public Schools recognize the use of face shields as PPE in lieu of cloth masks? It's not known if face shields actually provide any benefit as source control to protect others from the spray of respiratory particles. The CDC does not recommend use of face shields for normal everyday activities or as a substitute for cloth face coverings. So some people may choose to use a face shield when sustained close contact with other people is expected. If face shields are used, though, without a mask, they should wrap around the sides of the wearer's face and extend below the chin line. So we would still maintain face shields with our cloth masks. Do students with chronic asthma have to wear a mask all day? The CDC, both the CDC and the World Health Organization both recommend that you wear masks or fabric face coverings in public where you cannot keep a proper distance from other people. The World Health Organization actually recommends wearing a fabric mask that allows you to breathe while talking and walking quickly. So if a student has very mild asthma or well-controlled asthma, it's probably not going to be an issue to wear that mask. However, for people that have very severe disease and have frequent exacerbations, ER visits, hospitalizations, and require lots of medications for frequent symptoms, it might cause more of a challenge for these individuals. Chesapeake Public Schools, very happy to work with you to help you identify what the best course is for your student.
Thank you, Ms. Gelderks. Will additional custodial staff be assigned to help cleaning and sanitizing of the building throughout the day? Yes, additional custodial staff will be assigned to assist with cleaning during the school day. And what is the expectation for cleaning classrooms in between class changes? The day staff will clean frequently, used areas and items. Teachers will be provided with sanitizing wipes to assist with classroom cleaning as well. Ms. Gelderks?
Yes, ma'am. If students are eating in classrooms, how will meal times be handled to ensure students with allergies are safe? As part of the ongoing process as students arrive in school, we are constantly evaluating any allergies, the history of allergies, and using our medical documentation to provide information in regards to classrooms that have high risk of allergens. That information will be conveyed both to nutrition services, as well as we'll have signs posted outside of the outside of each classroom to ensure that it's identified that a student in that classroom, not by name, a student in that classroom has allergies or food sensitivities to peanuts, tree nuts, or whatever the allergen is. Based on that, to give us an additional safety barrier. We will also be sending notices home to the parents discouraging them from sending lunch meals to the classroom with those specific foods in their child's lunchbox. Again, provide an extra barrier of safety.
Okay, other questions? How early can parents drop off their children at school? For those parents opting to utilize before school care, the drop-off time will be no earlier than 6:30. For parents just wanting to drop their child off, schools may need to stagger their arrival times. Therefore, we are unable to give specific drop-off times at this time. Specific drop-off times will be developed. Will parents have to go inside the school building to pick up their children? No. Schools will be working on their parent pickup systems to be outside so that the limited number of visitors inside the building. What are the consequences for a child who removes or refuses to wear a mask? Student safety is our utmost concern. Students that disregard the health and safety mitigation strategies in place will be subject to disciplinary action. The Student Code of Conduct outlines consequences associated for unsafe behaviors. Guidelines for disciplinary action specific to health and safety concerns of COVID-19 are being developed and will be in place prior to the start of the school. What will happen if my child forgets to take his or her mask to school? Don't worry. For those students who forget their masks, one will be provided. Dr. Harrison?
Thank you. And I just wanted to begin by clarifying the question on PE earlier, because I saw a question come in after that response was provided regarding secondary students and dressing out for PE. So the response there was that students will not have access to the locker rooms, but they should come to school already dressed accordingly for PE on that day. Now moving on to some of the other questions. How do new families select their option? What if we're still waiting on documentation to come in to complete our child's enrollment? Families who are completing the enrollment process and do not yet have access to Parent View may contact their child's school for assistance completing the form to select their option. Will there still be an orientation for rising kindergartners, sixth graders, and freshmen? And yes, there will be orientations held. However, due to the high number of parents and students in attendance at these events and health conditions at the time, these orientations will likely be held virtually rather than in person. Can seniors drop the elective classes they don't need and take all their required classes for graduation in the fall so that they do not have to attend second semester? If a student wants to graduate early, they must meet the criteria outlined in the student handbook for early graduation and should contact their school counselor if assistance is needed with this process. How do you plan to address the social and emotional needs of students? The division has developed a committee that is working on plans to implement SEL strategies across the curriculum. This is something that is a major priority for our school division, and our teachers will be receiving additional professional development and resources to support students as they return to school. How do you plan to address learning gaps from the spring? Our curriculum teams have identified missed skills and content that have been revising curriculum guides to ensure these skills are spiraled into the curriculum and courses that your students will take in the next grade level. We will also be administering assessments to determine the needs of students so that teachers can provide targeted assistance and differentiated support where needed. Next, I will turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Craig Pinello, who's the Director of Exceptional Learning here in the division, and he's going to address some of your special education related questions. Dr. Pinello?
Dr. Harrison, can I just interject for just 1 second? Because I think we have some parents that will sign off before Dr. Pinello comes on. If I could, I just wanted to share very quickly the screen for our responsive return to school plan on our district's website. So you can see here on our homepage, you can click on learn more about our responsive return to school plan. That will take you to the website that has information here about option 1, 2, as well as frequently asked questions that we will continuously be updating. You guys have been submitting some amazing questions in our chat box as well as the Q&A tonight, and we want to assure you they are not being dismissed. They are being recorded and collected so that we can answer them and add them to the frequently asked questions. And then also here, this responsive return framework, this is a draft document which includes all of the details that were provided to you this evening if you want to go back and reference them. Again, it is a draft that we are working on and will be submitting to the State Department. But you can see here on this main page, if you wanted to access information about the survey that we previously conducted, you can do that here. Information about the task force itself. The presentation to the school board that we did on July 6th is available here. Detailed direction, this is the link to parent view, but if you click on see detailed instructions here, it'll hyperlink you to a PDF that has step-by-step instructions for how to submit your choices. And we did want to point out that you cannot select your choices through the Parent View app. You can only do it through a computer browser, or your phone's internet browser will work too, just not the app. And so if you feel like you want to hear this presentation again, you're welcome to register for another session. So we encourage you to keep up to date on this particular website as it will have a plethora of information in the weeks ahead. So this does bring us to the end of the general education portion of the forum, and we will be posting this recording to our Chesapeake Public Schools YouTube channel in the next few days. So you're welcome to go on and view it again or share it with families that you know maybe perhaps weren't able to attend tonight or aren't able to attend a future forum. Again, please make sure that you log into Parent View and make those choices by Tuesday, July 21st. The next school board meeting is Monday, July 27th at 6 p.m. And again, that's when we will share where we will start, or the school board will announce where they will start on the on-campus continuum. And just know that we are working diligently to critically analyze all of the moving parts to this. It truly is educational reform on a dime and in a jiffy. And so we thank you in advance for your support and for being with us tonight. So if you don't need to hear the information regarding our special education services, you're certainly free to leave the webinar at this time. But for those of you who'd like to stay on, if we could welcome Dr. Craig Pinella, who will now address your questions.
I want to stay on because sometimes it's special needs.
Thank you, Ms. Trott. I appreciate you giving me that introduction, and you too, Dr. Harrison. So I want to say welcome to everyone out there. I know that we have many parents of students with disabilities tuning in, and I want to be able to respond to some general questions that have come in. Ms. Trott, is the PowerPoint going to go back up?
Yes, getting it set for you right now.
Okay, great. So just as she's getting the PowerPoint back up, I did personally go through the hundreds, probably thousands of questions that came in from parents in our city. And in doing so, I identified 4 major themes in the questions that were being asked throughout the question and answer or process. So I want to start with probably what's the biggest question we have, which is, what will special education and related services look like in each of our options? So as you know, you've heard about our on-campus continuum, and you've heard about our Chesapeake online options. The first thing that I want everybody to really understand and embrace is that the whole first hour and 15 minutes of this session is also responsive to our students with disabilities. So everything that we have heard up until this point is applicable to the expectations and the supports and the safety measures that we're going to have in place for our students with disabilities. But there are some things that we need to recognize are going to be different. And as all of you who I'm talking to know, who are working with our students, we don't call them individualized education programs for nothing. They are intended to be very individualized and really look at the unique nature of your children and our students. And that is going to be a key factor that we have to pay attention to as we move forward in looking at what the traditional, blended, and virtual models. And on the virtual side, I'm talking about both the opportunity that we may have for temporary emergency virtual services, or in the Chesapeake online virtual services. So let me back up to traditional. In the instance that we have students attending school face-to-face, with respect to instruction, we can expect it to be very similar to what we experienced pre-COVID pandemic times. Our teachers will still work with students on an individual basis. They'll still be able to do some small group activities. They'll still be working off of their IEPs and managing their goals. I suspect that nothing is, even though we use the word traditional, that nothing's going to be exactly traditional about it. So there will still be digital learning opportunities that we're going to be exploring, even in the face-to-face. It is my intention to learn and take advantage of where we've come these past several months and try to expand the opportunities for our students. So even in that traditional setting, in the blended setting, if we have to be in that phase of our on-campus continuum, we're going to need to have IEPs that are designed to be more flexible than they have in the past, so that we have goals and services that can be identified to work when we are face-to-face, and goals and services that might be applied when it's the blended, when we're in the virtual setting. I don't want to, and I don't think any of you want to be in IEP meeting after IEP meeting to change as we might move along this continuum. So we have staff members, now working on ways to redesign our IEPs that are going to allow us to move between the traditional, the blended, and perhaps the virtual settings more seamlessly, so that we're not doing addendums all the time and changing IEPs, that it'll be clear to you what it will look like in each of those settings. In the blended setting, and I'm going to carry this over into the virtual setting as well, I have to be very transparent with you. There are aspects of special education services and related services that cannot be done in a virtual setting. So it's going to be incumbent upon IEP teams to look very carefully at the needs of students and make adjustments if necessary to IEPs in order to accommodate or modify things so it can be done in virtual settings. It also might be that we need to consider some face-to-face instruction, even in those online. So in the blended option, we have the face-to-face consideration, the face-to-face time where we can still do some direct instruction with students. In the emergency virtual or in the Chesapeake online, there may be occasions where we say, in order for us to provide this particular service, we're going to need some face-to-face time with your child. That should be discussed up front and planned for in IEP meetings. So again, a lot is going to rest on the conversations that we have during our IEP team meetings. I see a lot of questions about the online or the virtual option, and will that apply to students with disabilities? It is our intent to the greatest extent possible to make sure that that online option is available to students with disabilities, and that not only do the general ed teachers that support them, but the special education teachers that are case managers for them also are equipped to provide meaningful and ambitious instruction for these students. Again, in full transparency, I have to make it clear that in a full online system, there may be times where we have to bring students in face-to-face using all the safety and health precautions that we can in order to provide certain services. So things are continuing to take shape in each of these sessions, but that was kind of an overview of what special education services will look like in each of the options, including the online version. A second theme that was clearly evident in questions that I reviewed was, how will special education evaluations be completed? So as many of you know, when we shut down and we closed, we were not able to do, especially some of our psychological, some of our OT, occupational therapy, physical therapy type evaluations. They are difficult to do if we don't have students present with us, especially, you can imagine, a physical therapy evaluation. We have teams that have investigated and have found some ways that we can implement some components of our evaluations online, and we're going to work to expand them so that when students need to be home or they choose to be home, we're able to do some of those evaluations. Again, and a theme that you'll see in my answers, just like themes that I found in your questions, a theme is there will be times where we will not be able to do an evaluation. For instance, I talked about a physical therapy evaluation that often requires our physical therapist to physically manipulate a student's body in order to assess what their needs are. That cannot happen virtually, and we may need to make arrangements for some students to come in for short periods of time for those evaluations. The third item that I really want to take time to address tonight is related services. There were many questions on, will my child receive related services? Again, speech, OT, PT, assistive technology, those types of things. And again, it is our intent to be able to offer those services across all three of the options, or the two options, and both in face-to-face and virtual. Our therapists are exploring ways to do teletherapy and ways that we can do that safely and protect students' personal information, as well as be able to provide the necessary instruction for them. Teletherapy is an option, but again, there may be times where we have to request that students come face-to-face in order to do some of the more complicated or more difficult instructional services. The last thing I want to say to you is kind of a catch-all. It was clear to me that in a number of the questions, there's a lot of uncertainty in what's happening, especially for our families that have students with disabilities. They want to know what's going to happen. I get that. I really do. I want you to recognize that if you have questions about the exceptional needs of your students that weren't answered here tonight, because we can't answer every question, or they come up you're not able to solve them, the first place you should really reach out is to your school, to the administration at the school. I know right now we can't reach out to teachers. They're not working, but at some point they will be available to us. I want you to reach out to folks who know your student. Again, the individualized nature of special education requires that we involve people who have knowledge of your children in order to help make these decisions. And we're going to need to make individual decisions for many, many of our students with disabilities. So if you have questions, that's the place to go first. If the school is unable to answer that question or questions, they'll reach out to us and involve our office, and we'll research it and try to find those answers. Again, I just want to stress that this is going to be very individualized decisions for our students with disabilities. We're going to be holding IEP meetings for many, if not all of our students as we return, some probably before school starts, some shortly after school starts, to make these difficult decisions. But our intent is to be able to give you the choice and the options that are out there to the greatest extent that we can. So again, I appreciate you guys attending this evening. I hope we were able to clarify a few things for you.
All right, and this concludes our forum tonight. Again, thank you for being a part of this presentation, and we hope that you will also serve as ambassadors as you hear questions in the community, and you can help direct people to our website as well so that everyone is able to make an informed decision about what's best for their children. We'd like to thank all of our panelists, in particular our special guest, Dr. Nancy Welch from the Chesapeake Health Department. Thank you so much for your collaboration and partnership with us. And so this recording will be posted on the Chesapeake Public Schools YouTube page in the next few days. And we hope you all remain safe and have an enjoyable summer. Thank you so much.